Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 95 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we return from the All-Star break with an absolutely jam-packed podcast. To kick things off in the weekly rundown, the E-Crew recaps the exhibition matchups with Curry and UMass Boston, and then makes some slight changes to the EHL and EHLP power rankings. Continuing on with the Fantasy Challenge, we provide an update on the points earned so far, along with a reminder of the picks that are rolling over into this upcoming week. Also inside episode 95, Lauren Smith sits down for an exclusive interview with Colin Larson from the New England Wolves, and we put a bow on things at the end by highlighting a number of games to check out on HockeyTV. What's up, guys? Can you believe we already have 2 showcases done and 1 All-Star event, and November is just days away?
Damn.
Right?
Today's the 27th? Wow.
How fast is this going by?
A little too
fast.
And we're almost like, does it feel like we're almost taking it for granted based off what took place or didn't take place last year? You know what I mean?
Say so. I mean, I'm still doing the whole every time one team plays a team from out of state, I'm still saying, because it's true for the most part. First time these two teams have seen each other in 2 years. So we still have all those firsts going on.
Yes.
But it is going very fast, Neil. I would agree. We're going to be in March before we know it. And holy hell, we'll see who's left in March.
So I brought back a jersey this week. I haven't worn this on the podcast yet, but it is the Lumberjacks jersey for multiple reasons that I wore it. Because obviously they're playing well. Their captain was just our captain for the EHL. He just did 100 points. Egan Schmidt's number and autograph is not on this, even though I have made that plug for in the past. But the funniest moment that I don't know if enough people have picked up on this yet, but I'm sure you all saw the team picture that we took, which everyone was in their away jersey. And then when you kept swiping on Instagram, it turned into the All-Star jersey. Came out awesome. For those that are on this podcast, I'm going to show you. And for those that are at home, you got to go to Instagram. Egan Schmidt makes the same exact face in both pictures. It's almost like his head is on a T. It's beyond impressive. So I'm going to hold it up so you guys can see first. Look at the way his head is tilted and the eyebrows and everything. Watch. Yep. And then I'm going to swipe over. It's literally the same exact face.
Oh my God.
And it's 2 different pictures.
Different jersey. Wow.
And like I pointed it out with the Hicklings because they saw it too. And we were like, how did he do that?
Was he the one that was sitting next? He was sitting next to you too, right?
Well, please, we go to sit down for the picture, and I'm sitting in a chair, and he's the first captain that shows up. And Margaret Hickling's like, "You could pick any of these chairs," and he goes right next to Neil. And I was like, "Okay."
So Lumberjacks love you. Corey Doney was a big Neil.
Oh God, right? So,
well, you know what? Because both of my parents worked in photography, and I know this from experience that some people just sort of have this natural pose. So I'm not too surprised that Egan had the same pose and face.
Yeah.
But also I just want to say a couple more things about the Lumberjacks since we're talking about Neil's jersey. The Lumberjacks were at Jersey Shore Arena this past weekend, the EHLP team.
Yep.
And I had to defend the honor of the Lumberjacks uniforms because one of our fans weren't crazy about the plaid. And I told him, I said, what are you talking about? That's probably one of the most creative designs in the league. But the other thing I want to bring up, the other thing I want to bring up is that I spoke with the head coach of the P team, Seth Gustin, and he is honestly one of the nicest coaches I have ever met in this league. He is such a terrific human being. He says he's a fan of this podcast, so I'm sure he's listening. Shout out to Seth. And
love it.
Yes, he beat the 87s, but it's good to see that his team's off to a good start in his first year as head coach.
Yeah. I love your mustache, Seth. It is awesome.
I told him that.
That must take a lot of work.
And the other funny thing too, when he and Connell McNeilis went to shake hands after the game, I wanted to bring this up on the pod or on the broadcast that they're two redheads with great facial hair, two Irishmen just talking to each other at center ice. I personally thought it was really funny, but I mean, these are two coaches in their rookie years, and they're both great people. But shout out to
into
Seth.
the Premier League like Connell is, Anthony.
What was that,
Connell
Jeff?
was watching Premier League on his phone and during between games. He's a big Premier League guy, so I don't know if
that was the one thing I didn't ask. But also, just another fact about Seth. I just want to give like an idea for all the fans listening about his character. He played for Niagara's club hockey team in the ACHA. He was the captain from his sophomore year until he graduated.
Wow.
Damn.
That's a long time to hold a leadership role.
Yeah, seriously.
He told me when the coach pulled him aside, he thought he was getting in trouble at first, but the coach told him, no, we identify you as one of the leaders in the locker room, and even the upperclassmen respect you, so we're giving you the C.
Wow. As a
sophomore. We got a lot of Niagara alums in the EHL.
Oh,
Coach
God.
DiCaprio.
I knew where that was going. So with that, let's get into the weekly rundown.
It's time for the E-Crew's Weekly Rundown.
The E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
I cut you off at DiCaprio because I knew we were going to talk about him right now because he was the head coach for the All-Star team.
Was he?
That was able to play Curry College and UMass Boston this past weekend. We did touch on the last podcast how the matchup with Fitchburg State unfortunately had to get canceled because of COVID reasoning. But we did play Curry. We did play UMass Boston. And we did score first in both games.
Excellent starts, it looked like.
It
sounded like Tyler and Anthony did an awesome job. Credit to you both for a job well done on both those college broadcasts. Nice job, Anthony.
Tyler and Anthony were on together with Justin turning the camera on Friday night. So the whole HockeyTV crew that we put together was excellent for that one. When I turned the camera for a couple periods on Saturday, it didn't go well. I almost missed about 2 goals.
No, it did not.
So
oh yes, I know.
Because Lauren's going for the jugular.
Oh yeah, I really, when you have to put the top plays together and one of them for one of the goals, and you're watching it back and you're like, are you gonna get the goal? It's like somebody just like fell asleep midway, and I'm like, are they gonna turn the camera because the play started going left and the camera was still facing towards the right, and I'm like, are we gonna get this goal? We barely squeaked it in there.
Is the motion activated camera that took over for a little bit there?
Hey, the most important thing is that Neil got the goal. That's the most
just
important
barely
thing.
Yeah. Well, this is why
he's got duties.
This is why
duties, Neil.
This is why. This is why I don't turn the camera ever. But let's go back to the Curry game first. I think what stood out to me, in that game, and then you can actually carry it over to the other game. All three goalies for us got a chance to play. Nathan Miller played the full Curry game. Jackson Bernard and Stefan Kulhanek split the UMass Boston game. And as has been the tradition in this event for 4 years, every goalie has played well, starting with Miller on Friday night and then Bernard and Kulhanek on Saturday. One thing that I think we've touched on Nathan Miller so much in this podcast, but the one thing I didn't know enough about him until getting a chance to see him that close in person, he is very vocal. And you can hear him.
Remember from the finals, Neil?
It's even more like in the game. Like I went and just sat next to him in the hallway in between periods, and he was just going over all these things that Curry was doing. And I was like, it's great that you have the pads on and you're in goal because I don't, and you have a good idea what's going on and I don't right now. So I'm just going to watch you do your thing and you're in the right spot. But then as you were saying, Jeff, like during the actual game, like you could hear him throughout the building in the crowd because he's just communicating, whether he's going to wrap the puck or just leave it there. It's pretty impressive, honestly.
It is. He's a quarterback. I mean, the goalies are your quarterback of hockey, and he is one of the best at being able to lead guys, direct guys. And
it's not even just hockey either, because when I worked for the UNH men's soccer team, shout out to those boys, they always seem to have very talkative goalies, and I think that's a huge factor for them. Their goalies have always just been like super lights out. Like if you look at their goals against average, like they are not letting in like more than 10 goals at best. Like they're like it's always less than 10 goals the past couple seasons especially, and it's because of that goalie, and the goalie is just always yelling to them, like kind of directing them what to do. Like goalie communication is huge no matter what sport.
And you know what? I don't think it's any coincidence either that goalies tend to be the best interviews, or at least at the NHL level, they're the best color commentators.
Yeah.
Because as Jeff said, and Lauren as well, that they see everything. So they have to communicate, especially when the puck gets sent in deep and they have the defenseman racing in to get the puck and everyone's behind them. So the defenseman can't see. So the goalies have to kind of be their eyes for them.
Yep. Right. Yeah. No, they do. They can see the whole ice. They can see, where's the F3, where's the F2? They can see the forecheck simulating in the neutral zone, guys moving from the D zone. And that's the thing, like you said too, Arn, that's what separates the good teams from the not so great teams, right? Or those middling teams from the great teams is having that extra talent like Miller has. And that's why the Rangers are 11-2 now.
Whatever they are. He's 6-0. He also, I forgot, he's got 6 assists throughout his career in the league, right? Keep an eye.
A couple last year in the finals, didn't he? I remember he had a couple of those long stretch pass. He loves that stretch pass.
He loves the stretch passes. And then, Lauren put together that graphic for Schmidt when he hit his 100 points. Miller, it's October 27th. We're dropping this on the 28th. Miller's 2 wins away from cracking into the top 10 all time for wins.
Wow.
Like, we're not even at things.
And we got to mention someone else too, because Colin Bella hit that 100-point mark too.
Yes.
He's popping off as well.
Yes.
Helping those Connecticut Rough Riders climb back up the standings.
He's also only a few goals away from tying the Connecticut Rough Riders goals record, which is held by his older brother, Andrew Bella.
Yes. I think Andrew is close. Andrew doesn't have the most goals ever in a season. He was close. Yeah. Andrew had 40 in one year. Ochterbeck and Panzika each had 43 a couple years before that. But clearly goal scoring runs in the Bella family. It's a great cycle, Anthony, because who scored the first goal in the All-Star game against Curry? It was Colin Bella. And like the best sound in hockey, it wasn't a huge roar because we're the road team. But when you get the ping and then the goal, that's the best sound in hockey. And there was a good roar. It wasn't a huge roar, but the roar came from our bench when we struck first.
On road, I was just about to say that on the road games, when they score, you hear the players yell, and that's always a cool sound to hear, especially if you're, with the road team. And the other thing I liked about that Colin Bella goal is that literally maybe 15 seconds before he scored, I said, watch out, everyone. Kyle Patton leads the league in shorthanded goals. He can make plays while shorthanded. And who's the one that gave Bella the puck on the forecheck? It was Kyle Patton. Forced a turnover, got it right to Bella, and he just rang one off the post, top cheddar, in the back of the net.
It's funny how
he's another one. He's another fun one to watch. If you haven't been keeping an eye on the Little Flyers, just watch Kyle Patton. That man is so much fun to watch. He's just absolutely lights it up every time he's on the ice.
We're gonna get to that too, because they have a chance to be cracking into the top 5, kicking out Anthony's 87th. We'll get to that though after the All-Star stuff. Because that gave us the 1-0 lead. Curry obviously struck back. It was cool to see a long stretch pass from Ryan Bro, not Brow. Learned that this weekend. There's a W in there, but it's that you just don't pronounce it.
I think that's the theme this season. We're learning all the player pronunciations.
Seriously.
So now it's Ryan Bro?
Yes.
It is.
And his stretch pass to Farrell Din, who did a fake slap shot, but half slap shot, snap shot past the Curry goaltender. That was awesome. Just in that game, seeing every time Curry got a puck and being he played in the league. He played in the league. He played in the league. It was just a special night. And maybe it's just me, but whenever you give up an empty netter, I never really count it. So yes, we lost 5-2, but I really say it was 4-2. And then we took a great team picture afterwards with Dan Hickling's fisheye camera. He's holding it down at his chest and somehow gets that cool angle. And it was a really awesome start to the All-Star weekend for sure.
Neil, one thing I just want to bring up, where you talked about a lot of guys on the Curry team playing for the EHL.
Yep.
We talked about in the past podcast how this showcase is great because the current EHL players get to showcase their talent to the college coaches. But the other great thing is that the EHL players get to see EHL alumni, so they kind of get to see where they can be in a year or two. So I think it's not just looking at the current players, it's also for the current players looking at the alumni saying, wow, I can be a player like Chris Peters or Ochterbeck.
Yep. And that transitions us into UMass Boston. And this is going to come off as an excuse, but it's not an excuse, right?
How those D1 transfers look?
I think that we've been dealt a bad card 2 times in a row against UMass Boston. 2 times ago was the first time they had played since losing in the NCAA tournament at home against Manhattanville, which was the day after we had beaten Salem State. So
they were a little angry.
Clearly, they were pissed off, and they didn't want the junior kids to stay as high as they were, right?
No.
This time, it was their first time playing a game in 2 years, right? Because of COVID. So I think that we've been dealt a bad hand twice in a row. Now, it's not an excuse that they had a lot of chances.
They're very good.
Anthony, you called the game. They had a lot of chances. They had a lot of posts.
Oh my goodness!
But they can
say that top play sequence, was that the game? Did Kulonic play that game? Did he play the whole game? Or was that just one?
That's the one I went to. He looked beautiful.
That top play sequence, he made like 6 saves
all the all the skaters were looking good, but like Kulonic was just the player to watch. I got
there was one save. There was one save that I kind of wish made the top 10. So all the saves in the top 10 plays were on the left side on the camera. In the other period, so I guess that would make the second period, where there was a sequence. UMass Boston was on the power play, and he was down on the ice. And he lifted up his pad to make a save. It was just so ridiculous. Like, I don't know how the puck stayed out, but Kuhanik Bernard too, they were both terrific. And for UMass Boston, they had that one line. It was Bailey Conger. He was the D1 transfer from Colorado and Providence. They also had this player, Jeffrey Skinner. No, not the one playing for the Sabres.
And the one making $9.5 million wasting away in Buffalo.
And Chris Peters, who is from the Walpole Express, the second all-time leading scorer behind Logan Descanio. And they were the ones, every time they stepped on the ice, just internally, I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be saying in the EHL team's end for the next minute and a half, because they're just going to be wheeling the puck around like it's no tomorrow.
And the most recent
passed the test. Look at him against that. The Beacons are no joke. They're arguably one of the best teams in Division III hockey and have been for a while. So,
and then, if it's funny, the most recent commitment for UMass Boston from our league was Collier Benkoskis, played for the Railers last year. And I have to give myself credit because I said that exact words. I go, because Joe, I don't know, we were sitting next to Joe Bertani at one point, and I said, oh yeah, that kid played in the league. He's really fast. And then he literally grabbed the puck and just skated by everyone for a shorthanded chance and hit the post. He's like, oh, you just called that. I was like, yes, I told you. He's literally the fastest skater I probably have ever seen. But Jeff,
now you see him, now you don't.
You brought up that point about UMass Boston being one of the top teams in Division III. Curry played Norwich the day after we played them, and Norwich is like the top team, and they beat Norwich in overtime. So. Like I said, again, maybe we just need to tell UMass Boston.
Transitive property. Let's go.
We want to play you, but we need you to play somebody else first. And not be angry at us when we show up.
We don't want to be your icebreaker.
But it's funny how it all works out that the days go by, and then Sunday, Monday pass, and then Tuesday we get to my selfish moment from last week's podcast when we made number 1 Rangers versus number 2 Railers, Nathan Miller versus Stefan Kulhanik, and an unreal shootout. They didn't give up a goal until I think the 7th round or so, and it was just 1 goal scored by the Rangers in that shootout. The Rangers won that game, and now, quote unquote, the series is 1-1. But that game lived up to the number 1 versus number 2 hype that I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. Certainly did. Those Railers are still hot, baby. I mean, we've only had 7 games, I think, total since we've came back from the break, but we're going to dissect some of those scores. And
it's been a very, we're building back up, right? It's been a very gradual progression. It cranks up this weekend. But that was the 1 versus 2 matchup. We also had a 3 versus 4 matchup where Team Maryland beat the New Jersey 87s. So now that season series is 1-1. We talked about when we were off air about to get on this podcast. Don't let the Rough Riders get hot, because they've won 3 of 4 now, and they beat the 87s as well. And I think that brings us to our power rankings because, unfortunately, Anthony, I think by putting the 87s at 3, we motivated everybody else. And they probably have to get the boot at this point. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Brown said that to us, Neil, right? At the end of the Walpole Showcase, he said, listen, we're finally, that was after I just called their win against, was that Valley the last game that they played?
Yes.
Yeah, and they looked amazing. They won in a overtime or shootout. All the games are meshing in my head once, but Brownie came in and told us, he goes, listen, we're finally getting guys back. You know, we've had Baxay was out for a little bit, and Vigils has been dealing with some stuff, and they haven't been able to have their full lineup yet.
Their players quarantining in Egypt.
Right.
What?
So, I mean, they have guys that are dealing with injuries, dealing with other personal issues that we can't get into. Like, they've just been dealt a hard hand, and now they're starting to get guys back in a full lineup, and they're winning games. So we'll see what the Hosses look like in the second half. Two wins in a row.
Rangers,
also, Nicholas Junkin was terrific for the Rough Riders in that game against the 87. He was making some insane saves.
He's taking the job there from Nowarowitz, our old pal from week 1 that we had difficulty saying his name, but Junkins looked good. He's looked not junky.
One obviously stays the Rangers as they only played one game, improved to 11-2-0. For the Railers, played one game and lost in a shootout. Do they stay at 2, or can you move Maryland above them because Maryland beat the 87s? I think we know that 1, 2, and 3 has to be Rangers, Railers, Maryland. But the question is, who's 2 and who's 3? Do you put more stock in the shootout loss to the Rangers or the win against the 87s?
Oh man, I don't like. Can we go back to these being Neil's rankings and not
the South Division is a Thunderdome, Neil. It's the best. It is hands down. No, it is hands down the best division in the league. I will stand by that. And
I honestly though, I'm gonna have to kind of agree with Anthony a little bit, because when I was doing the Walpole Showcase interviews, a lot of teams that I was pulling from South Division, and it was fun to ask them too, because I was like, and as I kept getting more of them, I asked a few. I'm like, why is the South Division the division to look at right now? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's in the water down there? Like, everyone's just like flying off down there, and it's
the same reason why the pizza is the best. Best pizza, best bagels.
The water. Yeah, the water.
The water.
Water. Oh yeah, you guys say water. We say water. You say water.
No, we say water. Water is like Philadelphia accent. So that's what Mark Catron and the Little Flyers will say.
Oh, I thought that was like the South Jersey thing, but
so
I still think the Beasts are in the East. I'm still pounding my chest for the East boys. But
all right,
also Team Maryland had 3. Team Maryland, the skaters combined for 3 points. Bobby Geyer, Graziano, Farrell Din.
Yeah, they did.
So they're the ones who showed up against the college competition, and now they're the ones that are bringing it to the rest of the league.
So
Farrell Din scored the game winner against the 87s.
I need Nick to give me a little bit more this week, though, for fantasy.
Yikes.
God, we still have more games. Let's go games back.
We'll get to that
goose
for
eggs
sure.
Graziano, we will. But come on, Nick. Need you, buddy.
Okay, again, Rangers 1.
Yep.
I say it's Railers 2, Maryland 3.
I was going to say, I think Worcester's proven themselves to move up in the power rankings.
Anthony sounds like he wants to go. Worcester was 2 before, though. I'm saying that they can't move out of there just because of the shootout.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, Anthony, are you in favor of moving Maryland back up to 2 after the win against the 87s? Okay, so it's 2-1, Lauren.
I don't know. You're putting me on the spot. I really don't know.
This is what makes
don't
it fun.
do this to me. No, it's not fun.
I think with Maryland beating the 87s, it shows that they can play against tough competition. They can beat anybody. And it's not, their record's not just a product of their schedule. It's that they're just a really good hockey team, top to bottom.
But when they played the Beasts of the East, the Rangers, they lost 3-0. Team Maryland did.
Oh, as he strokes
it's
his
really
beard.
hard to beat the Rangers. So I don't discount them too much for that.
Then how can you discount the Railers too much for losing them in a shootout, having already beat the Rangers once?
I don't know. The South is popping off. That's
controversy.
So it's 2-2. Justin, you're calling you in here.
Wizard of Oz, we need your deciding 5th vote, please.
Do you want Railers at 2 or Maryland at 2?
Railers.
Okay. Anyways, we move on. Rangers 1, Railers 2, Maryland 3. Avalanche played their one game, beat the Wolves. They go to 4. What do we do at 5? Because if you look at the teams that were receiving votes going into this week, one of them was Seacoast, and Seacoast is like, we're either going to show up and win everything or lose everything. And they got swept by Vermont up in Vermont this past weekend.
We're either going to go down 3-0 in the second, score 6 in the third, and win 6-3, or they still don't. So I mean, how about the Whizzies?
So can we all agree that the Seacoast Spartans are the most chaotic team in the league?
Yes, I would agree.
Yep. They're up, down, over, and around.
That's the great question, Jeff. How about any team that didn't play this week?
Right, the Wizards are still sitting at 8-3.
How do we move a team in that didn't play?
You don't. I don't think you do.
Don't.
So
then who else?
That means the 87s fall from 3 to 5 and stay in the top 5
at 8-4-2.
8-4-2. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think I can be fine with that. I don't know.
I
That's
can't.
Hard. No,
I can't.
They go
I
out
think
after
somebody
losing to the Rough Riders. You're out of the top.
No, I just think after losing both games, and I think you have to find somebody else to take that spot. I think we have to say to ourselves, someone that didn't play needs to be recognized regardless of that. And
how about the Philadelphia Little Flyers?
I was just gonna mention Anthony's reading my mind because we were talking about Kyle Patton, and I'm like I'm telling you, the Little Flyers are being slept on. And they shouldn't be.
Put them in the top 5, Neil. Come on.
But the Wizards are 7-3 in their last 10. I know we haven't played a ton of games, but Little Flyers 5-5.
7-3 in the last 10. They've played 11. You know what? Let's motivate a little bit because the Little Flyers play the 87s on Friday. There you go. Little Flyers at 5.
Boom.
And if the 87s bounce back and win, because that's what the 87s do, right? When they're in the top 5, they don't win. When they're out of the top 5, they win. This is how it works, right? So Rangers,
let's go, Matthew Zadanowitz.
Rangers, Railers, Maryland, Avalanche, Little Flyers. No receiving votes. Nash just growled, so he's good with that. And that gets us over now to the EHLP. Not as busy a week either at this level. I found it kind of funny how the scheduling works with the All-Star week. Obviously, EHL, we black out the dates so that teams don't schedule then. But also in the EHLP, that they just wanted to kind of keep all eyes on the All-Star games. And I noticed it because the number of players that came to watch the All-Star game. We had so many different, like they all have their I don't know,
team gear,
warm-up jacket, like, or sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah.
They all walk in. The logo is right there. Like there were a ton of Walpole players there, a ton of Railers players there. The Railers were 6-1 last week. They're 7-1 now. So much has happened. I forget who they beat.
Oh, and actually, Neil, real quick, speaking of the Railers, not to go too off the rails when we're talking about the Railers. Hey,
oh my God.
That joke's for you, Justin.
Dad jokes.
What up? But let's we got to congratulate Coiner. Keith the Coin's getting inducted into the AHL Hall of Fame. That's a big deal.
Yes.
So congrats to you, Mr. Keith the Coin, for those honors. Played for the Hershey Bears
for
a long time. He was a dynamite player.
Yes, he is currently the assistant coach of the Railers. Spent 2 seasons as an assistant coach, or I guess EHLP head coach for the Rangers. Yep. Of course, Rich on Facebook did such a Rich thing.
Did you go in the comments though? I played with him at Chelmsford High for 3 years. Like it was kind of like, Coiner, I beat you. And then it was like, hey, I pumped your tires back up, my man.
It's like, congrats. We played together. You were better than I was, but we beat you today. But you were better than I was. Congrats again.
You scored a lot more goals than I ever did. But...
What are they? It's
compliment sandwich.
Oh my God, there it is. But like, there's like extra icing on each side of the freaking sandwich. It's like, dude, just say congrats. Leave everything else out of it.
You sandwich 2 compliment, like you throw a little bit of a like dig in between 2 compliments. That's compliment sandwich. You just kind of sprinkle a little something extra in there.
That's Rich. We've all known Rich for many years. That's been him back to many moons ago.
I was talking before about Seth being one of the nicest guys in the EHL. Rich has got to be one of the funniest coaches.
Oh, wait till you see him with Chris Russo with the movie quotes too. Those two going back and forth. Oof.
That will be entertaining. But Jeff, you mentioned this. Back to the Railers. They obviously had one game. They shut out the Rangers. Shut out with the Railers P team. Shocking, right? That's all they do is shut teams out. Improve to 7-1. They have to stay at number one. I don't believe the Seahawks played. They did play. They lost to the Rangers themselves on Sunday by the score of 5-4. The 87s, as Anthony mentioned, got swept by the Lumberjacks, and the Warriors lost in a game to the Wolves. That was a big win for Colin Larson, who I just named the EHLP goalie of the week. His first win of the season, first win since returning from brain surgery, which is awesome for him.
Yeah, I actually interviewed him recently, and it was really interesting to hear his story and kind of how he's come back from that, because that's a lot to come back from, because a lot of people have been struggling with coming back from COVID and all of that madness, but he had his own separate thing that he had to go through, and that just kind of, I think, motivated him to go a little harder and get back to where he needed to be successful again.
Let's take a listen to that interview now.
What's up, E-Show fam? I am here with Colin Larson of the New England Wolves, and I'm here to share a little bit about his story. So, Colin, tell me about how you got started with the organization last season, and just kind of walk me through the excitement of starting that season and hearing that devastating news.
So, 2 years ago, I played for the New England Wolves, and we played the whole season. So then I ended up coming back, returning, and during preseason, we had just workouts, a bunch of workouts every single day, and I was getting headaches, but I thought I was dehydrated, and I ended up passing out and found out that I had to go home and have brain surgery and couldn't play the whole season or anything. So, yeah.
And what's it been like trying to work your way back to that and get back to playing shape and getting in the right mindset to want to put the pads back on?
Well, I mean, I wasn't able to even get out of bed for the first 2 months. I mean, it was hard. I had to work out every day. Training was hard. I mean, first time on the ice was a little scary, but we got over it. I mean, it's good now and back to playing. So.
And what are your long-term goals when it comes to playing now after going through something like that?
Well, I just want to play hard this season, hopefully make our team do well, play college hockey afterwards, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great interview with Colin Larson. Obviously, a pretty amazing story. So congrats again to him for getting his first win, and hopefully many more to come this season. So
that's awesome.
Contrary to the EHL, in the EHLP, our number one stays the same, and then everybody else loses. So what do we do?
So yes, like you said, Railers won, and then 2, 3, 4 question mark.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do here.
Got to put the Lumberjacks in there. 3-game winning streak, and they sweep the defending champions.
Yep. I think they have to go in. I don't know what position yet. I do have to point out a vote that took place amongst the Board of Governors. Obviously, when we lost the Maine Eclipse, the number of teams per division became unbalanced. So the Valley Junior Warriors have moved to the north.
So I was just going to say, I was just looking at the standings and noticed that. No more East for Valley in the P, but they stay in the East and the E.
So, yes, but it makes it cleaner because now I'm going to go off the rails again, Jeff. Now I'm thinking about the playoffs, right? Yep. And I know we're only in October. But playoffs are going to be here before we know it. In the EHLP, it's just so much easier to have 4 teams in each division. Yeah. Right. So 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3, 3 winners go, and then there's also an at-large. We'll get into all of that at a later date.
What do you mean you don't like a 3-team division, Neil? It worked out for the 87s last season.
There's no symmetry to it. That's why, Anthony, it can't be an odd number. Has to be even.
Neil is a man of balance.
Yes. So the Warriors, when we moved them over, went from being in 3rd place to being in 1st place.
I noticed that too. I was like,
it's kind of just how it worked out. But I think it's going to make things more exciting. I mean, honestly, like we're really early for this, but you can make a case for almost any team in the North and in the East, and maybe even in the South, to win those divisions, right? So 3 teams make it to the finals, each division winner plus that at large. There are so many contenders in the EHLP. I know the Railers are playing the best of anybody else right now, but could you not see the Railers, the Seahawks, the Rangers, who are always a powerhouse in the P, the Warriors, who are having a great year, even Walpole's having a great year? How can you not see any of those 4 teams winning that division? They've all been in the power rankings. Yeah. They've all 4 of those teams have been in the power rankings once.
We'll have to see if the Rails can keep this up. They're still the only team with single-digit goals against. They've given up 7 goals. 7.
It's out of this world. It's out of this world. Stupid. 7 goals in 7 games. Yeah. So for us math majors, that's 1 per game.
Unbelievable.
I wanted more laughs with that. That's
I don't like math. Math doesn't make me laugh.
But like that was funny. That was like a half dad joke, and none of you even did anything. Anyways, let's figure out. We figured out one team that's going in is Vermont. Who else is going in?
Seahawks stay there. Should. I think.
Seahawks had that 1 loss. It was to the Rangers 5-4. I guess you got to give them credit for a 1-goal game. Mm-hmm. So maybe the Seahawks fall behind the Lumberjacks.
That's what I'm thinking.
So 5-3-2 Lumberjacks move ahead of the Seahawks. But then who's the 4th team? It's tough. I mean, I just mentioned how
we move a South team like we did in the EHL.
We could. I mentioned the Rangers before and how much of a powerhouse they have been in the EHLP. They're 7-6.
I was gonna say
they're literally win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. Yeah. Valley's loss to the Wolves was in a shootout. Do we put stock in that?
I think you got to put some stock in it. I mean, the Chiefs are, I guess, are the hottest team in the South. They've won 3 in a row, but they're 4-4-1. I don't know. What do you guys think, Lauren, Anthony?
We can add some fuel here. I'm all for it. Warriors have lost 2 straight, still in first place in the North though right now.
Yep.
We got to figure out this 4th team though.
I was going to say the same thing as Jefferson. Get the Connecticut Chiefs in there. I feel like they're a team that we don't really talk about that often.
So we're wiping out 2 through 4 and bringing in. Well, actually, the Seahawks stay. I shouldn't say that. It's almost a complete wipeout.
That's a beautiful thing.
Why not?
So Railers 1, Lumberjacks 2, Seahawks 3, and Anthony, we're saying Chiefs 4. Okay.
Chef's in.
Sure.
The chefs are in the kitchen.
And just like in the EHL for this week, no votes. Because there's enough games that are going to happen that this whole thing is going to get flipped back over again next week.
That's the toughest thing with this week's episode with the rankings is not enough teams have started playing again since we took the college break, not the All-Star Series break, which it sounds like some people have gotten confused on across the league. But that was the college break. The All-Star Series will be later on in November.
Yes. So let's get to fantasy. Our picks aren't changing.
Let's not get to fantasy.
Well, some points have been accrued so far.
Yeah, they have.
And some haven't. Yeah, they have. Yeah, they haven't.
So excited.
It's time for the eCrew Fantasy Challenge.
And the eCrew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
What order do you want me to recap in what's taken place so far?
I mean, I feel like you gotta start with Egan Schmidt. That man, like, I'm a little biased because he is on my team, but like, he is just popping off after the All-Star break. Like, that man is just having a week, and it's great.
Okay, so you want to start with the fixtures for the rest. You want to start with the team that got the most points. Let's go reverse. We have to start with Jeff. 2 assists. I'm sorry, it was a really tough start to this fantasy week.
So has the season been. I'll keep playing my tiny little violin that keeps getting smaller and smaller every freaking week. But... Oh, Nash, come on, buddy. I know Nash is upset. Thank you, buddy. Nash is like, oh, he's made screwed. No.
He's made an appearance. Yes. As you can see.
He is our logo. Welcome to episode 95, Nash Pup.
2 assists for James Metler. Nothing else, Jeff. Anyways.
Let's say Walpole hasn't played yet, so Bosher will be around. Graziano has been surprisingly quiet. Sedano was surprisingly quiet, which I was saying. I actually said this week to my girlfriend. I said, listen, because one of her friends, they're actually doing something new, quick off the rails, and they really like the fantasy page that was created by one Justin Squitieri and the rest of our team. So they were checking stuff out they're creating some new business on the side themselves. And then her friend Mary the other night looked and was like, Jeff's not doing so well in the standings, huh? I was like, I need to explain myself. Every week I've had guys that have gotten suspend, injured, phantom. I'm out of the lineup. I don't know why. I think it's because Jeff picked me. So I'm like the Rough Riders, like Steve Brown said. I haven't been working with a full lineup yet. So
yes. Well, hey, like I said, our fantasy picks are carrying over in this upcoming week. So while you have 2 assists so far from James Metler, there's plenty of time still for Nick Graziano, James Metler to get you more, Jack Bosher, and Matthew Sedanowicz. Moving on to Anthony, he's collected 14.8 points so far, pending stat changes. Okay, pending stat changes. There are some emails coming into my inbox now. While Will Rosen and, well, I guess the Warriors haven't played yet. Daniel Demchuk haven't gotten many points yet. He did get a win for Tristan Fatadad. Protech returned from the All-Star break with a win over the Apple Corps. And then Aiden LaValle had 3 assists so far, 2 of which were shorthanded for Anthony to give him 14.8 points so far. My team, which honestly has got me 21.4 points so far, a goal for Colin Bella, a power play assist for William White. I will have to give myself credit again. I did say it was almost time for the Lumberjacks to even the tables with the Spartans, and Josh Kotai wins 2 games.
Yeah, he did.
So
that was
another good goal.
That was fun to see. That's been a surprising matchup to watch this season. It's been fun to see them kind of go at it because you wouldn't think they would, but it's been wild because the Spartans have ran away with that series so far this season, and then Lumberjacks. I think it's just I don't know what it is. Something about that All-Star break, I think, woke up the Lumberjacks and each bit, and they're just like, all right, we're getting back in this.
Kotai's running away with that job too. That was another team with the 3 goalie monster. They had Bellaquay and Sam Pfaff from EHLP's championship run last year, but Kotai's taking that net.
So they combined to get me 21.4 points so far. And then we get to Egan Schmidt's, Lauren's team.
The Egan Schmidt
it's basically Egan's team this week.
Yes. Lauren Schmidt week.
Start with the bad news, though, for you. Just like Zdanowicz hasn't got Jeff anything yet, Matt Herrick hasn't got you anything yet.
Come on, boys. Come on, 87s. Let's go. You're out of the top 5. Time to start moving.
I almost said the same thing about Logan Derryberry, but he got Lauren an assist there as well.
He did.
Nathan
you guys
Miller,
were giving me a hard time for picking him, but
it's just interesting.
I'm telling you, he's a little quiet, but he'll get me some good points.
I already has some, so good job.
Exactly. Nathan Miller in that win against the Railers. At first, I added up all the points and then forgot that it's a bonus win. So she gets an extra point for that.
This is BS, man. This is BioSteel.
This is literally what Egan did for me last year. He should have been tired, right? Mm-hmm. He played in both All-Star games, which were Friday and Saturday, and then played in both Spartans games, which were Sunday and Monday. But he just rolled out and put up 4 goals and assists, 3 power play points, 2 shorthanded points, and a game winner, which is 22 points, which is more than any of the 3 of us had with our entire team.
Yep. Those college games jacked him up. Another joke.
Yes.
Oh, I know. It's been funny. Breaks. Oh yeah, it's been fun to watch him and chat with him here and there. He's absolutely fired up. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm gonna get you all kinds of points. And I was like, all right. I'm like, we'll see what happens. And he's just been flying off the shelf. And I'm like, I am enjoying every second of this. And it's funny too because he didn't know until I mentioned it to him when I interviewed him. He had no idea he was close to the 100-point mark. And I think that kind of lit a fire under him too, to just be like, all right, I'm almost there. Let's well surpass that.
That's crazy.
Who do they play this weekend? I'm blanking right now. Regardless, he could go out and get you no points in those games, and it's still a productive week for him.
Absolutely.
The overall standings, not to get ahead of myself, I am at 152.4. Lauren is at 150.
Demeanor, folks. Look at this.
Yes, I have to.
Wow.
I have to stay.
Shocker.
Well done.
I have
Shocker.
to stay.
Golf clap.
I have to stay humble. Thank you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren's at 150.8. Anthony's at 141.4. And Jeff, I know you feel discouraged being at 113.4, but you were right there a minute ago. Just know that now that we have 2 showcases and the All-Star break behind us, now it's your time.
It's my time.
It's your time.
That's right,
yes,
Carlos Correa. It's my time, all right?
Yes, you're going to start this comeback, and before you know it, you're going to be right there once again.
We'll see.
And like I said, our fantasy picks are rolling over into this week, all up until November 3rd. There's a ton of games.
Sure is.
Like a ton of games. We have quick count here. There are 19 games from podcast to podcast. So plenty of chances for the 4 of us to accrue some more points. So with that, let's get to what to watch for.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to watch for is presented by HockeyTV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action through the 2021-2022 season.
So with so many games, we can almost give a game to watch each day. We really could, like there's so many that jump out to me.
It's like 5
the Wizards, the Wizards and Express are probably listening to us with our power rankings and say,
hello,
we had one bad week. Why'd you have to get so angry at us? Right?
Is this mic still on? Hello, are you all listening? Hello.
like we're still towards the top of the East. They play on Thursday. You can kind of do an out of town scoreboard with that one, Jeff, while you call you're calling the Warriors and Chiefs.
Love the out of towns,
right?
Those are big fillers.
Yes.
Beautiful. I did give the Wizzies a little honorable mention just to let Corey Fleety and the gang know, but for our top 5 conversation. I tried.
Yes, if we go back and listen, you did plug that in there. Yes. Everything is recorded, so we can always go back and see that. Anthony, what games do you have to call this week?
Remember, 7-3 in the last 10. They've only played 11.
Let's see. I have no games to call this week for the EHL. I think the 87s are playing on the road. They have a matchup on Friday against the Little Flyers at Iceworks. So that should be a good game. I'm concentrating more on the EHLP side this weekend because just like how the Lumberjacks played 2 games at Jersey Shore Arena, now the New Hampshire Avalanche are coming over and they're going to have the same deal.
Those are going to be 2 awesome games for you. And maybe there's a little, I know there's not a lot of carryover, whether it's EHL or EHLP with rosters from year to year, but there are going to be some Avalanche players that played P last year that are probably looking at this weekend as a chance to, I can't say get revenge because they didn't get to the finals, but maybe feel a little closure, if you will, for winning that regular season championship last year, getting knocked out right before the finals, but then getting a chance at the defending champions this weekend. Hopefully for you, Anthony, I guess you could say it's not the same repeat as last weekend when Vermont came to town. But I think kind of like the Rangers are, and I'm sure you can agree with this. The Rangers at the EHLP level are kind of a back and forth team. Maybe that same thing with the 87s.
Yeah, you have to remember the last maybe 2 or 3 seasons. I've noticed that Adam Hooley and Matt Kiernan have recruited a lot of very young players. Now the EHLP naturally is younger than the EHL, where the age out for juniors right now this year is 2001, and most players are 02s, maybe 03s. This 87 team is stacked with 04s, and we have a handful of 05s. Wow. And one player who's an 05 whose game is really coming together, Alex Haar. He's a short player. Yeah. He's an 05, so he came in as a 16-year-old, and he is just so poised with the puck. He doesn't panic.
He looked great in those games.
He makes plays, and he's a workhorse too.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. And the goaltender too.
I think
he's a 16-year-old, I believe, too, right?
Like, think about that, Jeff. That makes us feel so old.
But I think by having a young team, by having a very young team, in one hand, it sets up an advantage because you can get these players ready for the EHL, maybe beyond that, where they have a lot of room to grow. But the other thing is because they're a young team, some things are harder for them, maybe playing defense, playing structures, where you can't just rely on skill in youth hockey. And now, again, even though the EHLP naturally skews younger, like the 87s are still one of the younger teams in the P.
Yep.
The only way to figure those things out is through games, like you're saying, Anthony. You can't simulate that in practice, so they're just going through the trials and tribulations at the beginning of the year. So I'm sure that'll change going forward.
And then sticking with the P, to get some disparity this year in designing the matrix, because I know everyone loves to talk about how I make the schedule around here. It's a very hot topic. We wanted to get teams some more disparity, obviously, to play different teams compared to last year. There's a few occasions where South teams are coming up to the East Division for 3-game swings. I mean, this is an absolute gauntlet for the Little Flyers P team to play the Warriors and the Rangers on Saturday and then play the Railers on the way home Sunday. So come on up and let's see how it goes. Like, that is an absolute gauntlet. I mean, when you make the matrix, you don't know how good the division's going to be. Right. So you have to just say, here's some different opponents. When you look now at the way things have played out, it's kind of like, whew.
Well, you know what? The Little Flyers, they've won most of their games in showcases. So yes, I think if there's any team that's up to the task for a gauntlet schedule like that, it's the Little Flyers. I think Mark Catron's squad can make some noise on this road trip. It should be a fun one for them.
I would agree. Kicking back over to the EHL, the Avalanche play the Railers. So Railers came back from the All-Star break, play the Rangers, and then come out and play the Avalanche next. I'm actually on the call for that one, so nice. That's like my third game of the year. I'm really behind.
To the Frozen Finals week. Well, it's okay.
Here we go.
Good job,
I
buddy.
knew that. I actually, you know what was funny, Jeff? As I actually put them on a T for you there. The Rough Riders play a 2-game set with the Apple Core. Rough Riders right now have won 3 of 4 after the 0-7 start that they had. I got to keep an eye on that.
Don't forget about Colin Bella.
See, that'll be interesting, though.
Back.
We talked about how
He's waking up.
Junkin's been playing really well. And the core, as we know, Colin Callanan and everyone else on that team, Colby Walters, they put a lot of pucks in the back of the net. So that's a good test for Junkin. And then how about Rangers Express? That's another good matchup, too.
Yes. Tyler has actually got 2 games that day.
Awesome.
He's got that one, and he's got the Spartans and Avalanche. I was like, I hope you realize that those rinks are not next to each other.
But it's on his way home. Walpole is closer to Taunton for him, so it's coming back down.
There's plenty of time in between. Mm-hmm. I think this is the highest number of appearances Nash has ever made on the podcast. I'm currently holding his crayon toy, and he just keeps putting it back in my hand. He really is into episode 95. I'm not sure what it is about 95, but he wants to be a part of it for some reason.
He's our logo. We love you, Nash. Welcome on, buddy.
God. He keeps putting it back in my hand. I can't get rid of this thing. Team Maryland's playing the Ducks. When those two teams get together, it feels like it's an automatic 1-goal contest almost every single time. So really just plenty of great games this week. I mentioned there's 19 games in the EHL in between podcasts here.
Make sure you're taking a peek at the South's coming back.
Don't forget about the Beast.
Those Connecticut teams have a couple games coming up, so I definitely keep an eye on those because I'm hearing they're supposed to be pretty good.
We'll see.
There's another 12 games or so in the EHLP as well. So the All-Star break is over, guys. We're jumping right back into things and enjoy all the games this weekend.
Sounds good. See you all at the rinks, wherever you may be.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.